Hello and welcome to Seattle City Makers. I'm your host, John Scholes. Hope everybody's doing well out there and enjoying this incredible stretch of weather that we're having. It's July in the city of Seattle, July in the Pacific Northwest, that time of year that we long for, the other 10 or so months a year, and we are here. And it's been amazing. And downtown has just felt amazing with so many folks returning and people on the street. And it's been so active. We've just continued to see great progress in the renewal and recovery of our downtown. The hospitality industry has been a big part of that, of course. And in June, we finished the month with the second highest hotel occupancy in the country within the top 25 urban markets at about 85% is what we averaged for the month of July across downtown hotels, which has just meant more customers for our restaurants and small business and arts and culture, and going to sporting events as well. And it's just felt just great downtown. Still plenty of work to do and work ahead of us, but we are making progress and heading in the right direction. And a special thank you to the Toronto Blue Jays fans for all the money that you spent in our downtown, the hotel rooms that you took up, and the 4 wins that you left our Seattle Mariners with a week and a half ago or so. Just a great time to be in the city of Seattle, and great weather and a great run by our Mariners here. So I hope everybody's doing well out there. Welcome to episode 14. And in this episode, I'm joined by Jaebadiah Gardner, who is the CEO of Gardner Global Inc., which is a holding company and a builder of multifamily housing within the city of Seattle. Jaebadiah is a developer, he's an author, a speaker, he's active in Seattle's civic community, and he's also in the gumball business, and we talk a little bit about that. So a fun little nugget, so to speak, in Jaebadiah's background that you will learn of if you didn't already know. He's a graduate of the University of Washington, got an English degree there. He got a law degree from Western Michigan Law School, and he's been making headlines lately in our city as he's been active in acquiring property and planning new developments and investments in neighborhoods throughout the city of Seattle. And we talk about a number of those projects and some of these headlines that Jaebadiah has been making. We talk about leadership, his outlook on the city, and what it was like starting a development business and getting in that line of work after being in construction during the Great Recession, and then sticking with it through the pandemic and one of the most difficult periods our city's faced economically in its history. So that and more with Jaebadiah Gardner, the CEO of Gardner Global Inc. Well, thanks for doing this, Jaebadiah. It was good to see you a couple weeks ago at the Sports Star of the Year Awards.
That's right.
We talked about doing. I guess it was more than a few weeks ago, but
yeah. Well, I'm glad we circled back.
Yeah, that was a fun event.
Mm-hmm.
It was good to run into you there and see a packed house.
Indeed, that was my first time actually at that specific event.
It was mine too. I'm kind of embarrassed to say because I think that was
like you'd be a regular.
I should be, but yeah, it was like number 87 or something that event's been going on.
Oh, wow.
87th, I think.
Wow.
But
I'm late.
Same, but fun to be in the house with a lot of Seattle sports stars and others. So we're in a pretty cool spot off Post Alley.
Thank you.
Down the street from the market.
Exactly. Yeah, like I said, by the very classy gum wall.
And I didn't know this, but I was reading up. You've got a connection to the gum. Is that still the case?
Of course. Yeah, actually, we have a pretty high-powered gumball machine just outside the door here.
You supply some of the gum.
Some,
Most.
Definitely your neighborhood gumball supplier.
Can we measure the recovery of downtown by how the gum is flowing out of your machine?
Potentially. I
want to look at your books.
The machine holds 5,100 gumballs, and I'll fill it up once to 2 times a month.
Now
that's like 10,000 gumballs. So, and
what was July of 2019 as far as how many times you're filling that thing up?
Oh, yeah.
This is a good indicator here.
Oh, yeah. No, like seriously, if I could pull stats.
Close to normal, you think?
We're getting there. Getting there. But, July, August of 2019, two times a month, I'd have to make a run and fill that thing up. And then obviously COVID hit, nothing.
No gum.
And it was interesting. I want to say one of the first or after the second waves, when the county kind of opened up a little bit, and I got my first gumball sale, my first 25 cents. I was like, oh my gosh, the market's coming back.
We're on our way back, baby.
Exactly.
I love it. Well, you're known for a lot, gum included, I guess. But that was a little fun fact that, I thought worth mentioning because I wasn't aware of that. Given you're hard to keep up with because you're out there doing a lot. I did want to go back to what you said early on in the pandemic as it came across a stranger story, not a strange story, but a story in the stranger. And I think the headline at the time was that you're losing confidence in Seattle. And I think largely around the response to the Black community, Black business owners like yourself to help weather the early part of the storm there. What's your assessment today of the city and the support or lack thereof for Black entrepreneurs like you?
Great question. That statement still stands to a large degree. Notwithstanding that we've been able to get a lot of support for the work that we're doing, but the support isn't just a one-time thing, right? It's not just hey, here's a check or here's a meeting or here's an opportunity. We're in the business of building wealth, right? And we're trying to close the wealth gap for Black folks, Black and brown people. And that takes time, And so, I was definitely feeling super left out in the cold, given all the work that we've been doing in Seattle particularly. And, when we knock on doors and say, hey, we're just trying to survive a pandemic, and it was like doors were shut. I was like, wow, this wasn't the response I was expecting. Mm-hmm. But, you got to fight through those things, and if anything, it made us stronger. It made us, it put us in a position to where it was sink or swim. And there's no sinking on this end. Like we're gonna figure it out. And so, you just rally the folks who are closest to you, and, you build support on top of support like Lego blocks. And then eventually you're able to kind of, get something done. And so, I still would push the city to do more. Mm-hmm. There's still more that can be done, whether you're in real estate, whether you're in restaurant business, whatever business you're in Seattle, if you're in a position of influence and power and you have the ability to hire Black and brown people, the ability to invest in them, you should. Because, what high tides raises all boats, right? And if we have that perspective in Seattle, I think, we can get ourselves out of a little bit of the muck that we've been seeing downtown.
And do you think we don't have a robust, comprehensive strategy in the city to build Black wealth? It's more of a piecemeal programs here, a grant there, a press release here. I'm not trying to put words in your mouth, but is that how you still sort of view the commitment and sort of lay of the land when it comes to supporting and growing Black entrepreneurs like yourself?
Yeah, no, I think, I always think there's always work to be done. And so I think it's a great step in the right direction. And I think people should follow their lead. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And so it's not to say that, well, you're right. There is no plan. There really isn't a plan to build Black wealth in America in general. There is no plan. I mean, I have a plan. Yep. Gardner Global has a plan. Yep. We're trying to get everybody on board with that plan. And so sometimes that takes some time to get people to understand what we really mean. And when we're talking about Black wealth, we're not saying that at the exclusion of anything else. Mm-hmm. We're saying that there's some economics here that need to be balanced out. And once you balance those out, you get the same folks being great contributors to society, right? And I think that's what we all want. We want folks that are employed, able to play and eat in the same space, and folks feel good about that, right? And operate as a globally tier 1 city. And I don't think we can do that if we keep excluding people from that wealth piece. So we're immensely thankful for working with the Amazon Housing Equity Fund team. And folks don't know, like it took us 9 months to close that. That didn't happen overnight. It wasn't just like, oh, hey, yeah, Black wealth, let's just cut a check and keep going. Like there was 9 months of conversation and fighting through what the investment really means and making it make sense, because there's also an economic side of it. Like our project needs a pencil, right? Although we're creating housing and affordable housing, it needs to balance out. We need to make sure that the project can take care of itself for the long term. So there was a lot of in the weeds work that we did for 9 months working with Amazon and getting vetted by Amazon and building the confidence of them to where they said, you know what, this is going to be a good investment. And so we want more folks to get on that board.
And this was your reference in the news you made end of last month about
I guess I should probably reference
No, I mean, you've gotten some great,
people know, but
you've gotten a lot of good press on it, but a major investment and project in the Central District that you're helping to lead with support from Amazon. How'd you first sort of get introduced to that fund and that opportunity with Amazon?
Yeah, great question. Yeah, so we had a good friend. I'll put her on blast. Her name is Pearl. Pearl Lung. I'm sure you're familiar with Pearl. She's an incredible person we have in the city of Seattle. And when Amazon first launched their fund, she said, "Hey, I'm not sure if you knew, but this is happening." And she asked me, "Are you ready?" And I was like, I'm ready. I'm ready, Pearl. And so she was able to introduce me to the Housing Equity Fund team and then kind of took it from there. So that's how I kind of got aware of it. And something I was talking about earlier was relationships, right? And, you got to have relationships at every level to be able to be ready to pull you into some rooms that you may not know exist. And so Pearl was able to, open that door for us, and we were able to execute and push on it and make it happen.
And I want to talk about some of the projects and investments that you've been making because you've been busy, coming out of the pandemic in 2021. But what brought you to Seattle? You didn't grow up here. You grew up in South Central LA, if I have that right. How'd you find your way to the Northwest?
I grew up with my grandparents in South Central LA, a little city called Southgate. And my father actually lived up here and had a new family. And I was getting in a little bit of too much trouble in South LA. And he presented the opportunity for me to move to Seattle with him, and I took it. And I think that completely 360 changed the trajectory of where I would be if I would have stayed in South LA. Not a lot of Amazon, Google, tech, opportunities in Southgate, but so I'm thankful. I'm thankful for that. So that's what brought me here. So I've been here 25 years.
Yeah. And you got an English degree from the University of Washington. How'd you go from an English degree to your construction job at Turner and then into development? What was that transition? For sure.
Well, for 1999, there's this book on Amazon where you can find out some information. No, I'm just joking.
You are an author.
I did write a book.
Yeah, let's talk about that. You are an author. Wrote Believe in
Yourself. The game is to be sold, not to be told. That's what I'm trying to tell people. I was an English major, so a lot of people don't know. Secretly, writing is like my art. I love to read and write, and I kind of abandoned that for a while as I sought to be an entrepreneur, businessman, real estate developer. And I just got an itch one day, and I was like, I got to get this information out of my brain and onto paper and monetize it because, I'm definitely a businessman. And so, it took me about 2 years to write, or a year and a half to write or so, and then 6 months to self-publish. That's where I was able to kind of kick in the gear, some of the basic foundational skills I learned at UW as an English major. And then a lot of people don't know too, I was a part of a small group who built a monument on the campus at the University of Washington dedicated to people of color. So I did that like my junior and senior year, and convinced the top administration at UW to contribute $150,000 to build this monument. And so that happened. And so that kind of was a stepping stone into getting the position at Turner Construction. And so, I was placemaking, basically. I built a small space for people to utilize. It's there now. It'll be there forever. And so when, the opportunity came up to interview at Turner, I had somebody there who was on the community relations side and said, "Hey, you should apply." And I did. And the folks who interviewed me looked at my resume and they said, "Well, your E stands for English major, not engineering. You don't have an engineering degree or construction management degree. What how are you going to survive?" And they said, "Hey, we'll give you an opportunity." And so, I really loved the build. So I got experience working at Turner Construction, building high rises downtown, learned a tremendous amount about the business, and I just got bit by the bug. And I was like, I got to keep doing this. But how do I do this for ourselves? And then I realized that a lot of the wealth that is generated in this country comes from real estate, and especially at that level. And so I would ask questions like, who's our client? Like, who am I finding these color samples for? Oh, well, that's our client. Well, who is the client? Well, at the time it was Wright Runstead. Well, who's Wright Runstead? They're a developer. Well, what's a developer? Jaebadiah, just shut up and just go do the work. I kept asking questions. I was trying to figure it out. And then I just did my own research on what real estate developers do, who they are. And I was like, this is crazy. How does this company have $150 million to build Harborview Medicals? This is insane. And so I really started to focus in on what that meant as far as building wealth and the longevity of taking care of your family. And so I wanted to build a business around that. You know, how do I take care of my family for the next 100 years, 200 years? But also, how do I also, you know, extend and share that with the community as well, right? And so that's kind of how I got going.
And you made the move from construction to development right in the teeth of the Great Recession.
Yes. Yeah. Actually, it was a forced move. So I would go home every night after my day job at Turner, and I'd write my business plan for Gardner Global. And then I wrote it. It took me about a year, kind of filed it away, my MacBook. And 2009 came around, and the recession hit. There was no more cranes. I have no kids, no wife. I was the easy picking, the first to go. And so they're like, hey, thank you for your contributions, but, you know, no more work. And so I got laid off at top of 2009, and I decided, well, if there's going to be a time to build my wings and fly, I'm going to try this business plan. I'm going to go after it. And that was 2009. And so I was literally from March of 2009 to 2012, I was trying to get folks to invest in real estate, invest in my company. And I literally would get people who laugh in my face. Do you not see what's going on? You do not see the housing crisis? Apart, yeah. Everything's falling apart. Everything's cheap. And I was like, well, that's the whole point. It's cheap. Let's buy some things. You know what I mean? And it just was a tough go. But at the same time, you know, I had to learn the business. You know, and I had to take my own risk. I made my own investments, renovated my own duplexes, lost a lot of money, learned a lot. And there's so many things I'll never do again, right? Once you learn, you learn. Well, I mean, you should learn. And so a lot of that really, really gave me, the confidence to keep going. So you got to take some losses before you get to the wins, you know. What
was some of the most important advice? You give a lot of advice as a motivational speaker, and you're out there quite a bit. What's some of the most important advice in those early years of building your own company in a really tough environment that you got that was beneficial to you?
Yeah, one thing I didn't realize that how hardcore commercial real estate was, meaning it's cutthroat. It's a shark business, all the way from the broker side to the developer side to the investor side. Like, if you don't know what you're doing, you're going to get your shirt taken from you. And I didn't, you don't know that when you're a young pup in the game. And so I had a mentor of mine, still my mentor and board member. I'll throw him out there, Chip Reagan. I love Chip. Shout out, Chip. What's going on? I'm going to put you out there real quick. But early on, like the first year of my business, Chip Reagan told me, he's like, you got to have ice in your veins. You got to have ice in your veins. You can't get emotional about this stuff. It's real estate. It's business. And that resonated with me because I was getting really emotional about not why certain deals weren't working or why I couldn't raise capital. And it would, he said, what are you doing? You got to have ice in your veins. And that stuck with me to this day. That's how I approach real estate. And a lot of my closest friends know, I tell folks like great white shark is my spirit animal, because when it comes to business, it's eat or be eaten. Yeah, I'm nice. I love the community, but you'll get eaten if you come over here. You know what I mean? Because there's no other way around it in this business. Yes, we have a social conscience and a social mission, but we're not going to lose that at the expense of someone taking advantage of us. I mean, it's what? We're in a capitalistic society. So no harm, no foul. You know what I mean? If that's the rules of the game, then we're going to play the game. We're going to be the best at it, and that's how we approach it.
So you mentioned to me earlier that you've been coming into the office on a regular basis. Your office here, just off Post Alley, down from the market, and you were recently also on a panel about sort of the future of downtown and rebooting downtown. What's your assessment today of downtown, and what do you think needs to be done to sort of support the further renewal and reinvestment?
Yeah, definitely was on that Biz Now panel and had some things to say about that. It's like I love having our office near the market, because there's this pre-pandemic, there's just amazing energy, right? And these are people from coming all across the country, all across the world. So I really vibe with that international kind of flavor. So just to come to our office and go to meet you for brunch or go to Market Grill, and you just see people you never see again, and everyone's, in their tourist mode. It's just energy. It's high energy, and I feed off of that. And so it is completely back now in the market. I don't know if you were around this weekend. The cruise ships were in town, Sounders game, Mariners game. Like, the market was buzzing. Gumballs were buzzing, and that's the energy that is Seattle. And I think our new leadership in the mayor's office has done a great job with really trying to balance providing social services, but also making sure that the streets are clean. And I was pretty vocal about it. Like, you invite people over to your house, you usually clean your house up before you invite people over. So as a city of Seattle, we should think of this as our house. This is our home, and we got to take care of it and keep it clean. You keep it clean, the violence will probably go away, right? It's not 100% cure, but you got to start somewhere, and that's an easy win. And I think, honestly, some of the things that can be done is we got to allocate more of the city budget to some of the ways that we clean the city, right? So MDI, not MD, is it MDI? The folks who...
the MID, Metropolitan Improvement District. Yeah, run by the DSA.
Exactly. Give them more money. Give them more money because those are jobs that you can then give people who don't have the technical skills every day. And if you don't want people loitering and lingering on the street, give them an opportunity to make some money, And so I'm a big proponent of increasing that budget, making sure literally we should be able to walk downtown and there should be somebody cleaning the streets, whether with a machine or a broom or whatever. This place should be watered down, spick and span. Job opportunities is clean. And then number two, just alluding to it a little bit earlier, is, I'm a big fan of having carless mega blocks. Get rid of these cars. What for? Why are there cars coming through the market? I don't think there should be cars from First and Stewart to Pioneer Square, all the way down to First and Cherry, or what was that, First and Washington, whatever. Give pedestrians and people who live here the ability to experience the city. Give them the ability to go patronize a restaurant or the small T-shirt place or the vintage. There's a really cool vintage spot that people miss all the time in Pioneer Square, but because there's cars everywhere, And so I just think, increasing the budget to give people an opportunity to work in a service level capacity, and also getting rid of cars. And not when I say get rid of cars, I'm not saying just do away with them. Yeah, just really identify certain areas, and it's really easy to identify the market and First Avenue and say, let's just experiment. Maybe for a weekend, maybe from Friday to Sunday, if we say, hey, let's make this carless just to see what happens. I'm a global citizen. I travel all the time. And, you walk these streets with folks sitting outside, eating, playing, and they're not disrupted by vehicles, the noise, the pollution, and just the physicality of it. And so I don't know, I just kind of envision Seattle as a place where it's really pedestrian friendly, and also, service worker friendly as well.
Yeah, no one ever goes to a city because it's great to drive in. It's because it's great to walk in, right?
Exactly.
That's why we're drawn to
and then it's how much, we spent billions of dollars on a light rail. Force people to take the light rail then.
Yeah.
What do we build a light rail for if we're going to let people continue to drive? Defeats the purpose. So if we're going to continue to pay taxes for a light rail, then I'm then force these people to ride it. Come on. No need to drive. No need to bring your F-350, into the market. There's just no need for it.
So when you think of your outlook for Seattle, what gives you optimism? What gives you concern for the future of the city?
Yeah, that's a very interesting question. I'm as a developer, I got to be optimistic, right? We got to be the guys that say, no, something's here. Seattle's a global tier 1 city in my eyes. And when I travel the world and folks in different, markets in different countries, Seattle's not at the top of their list, right? They still think of New York, they still think of London, they still think of LA. And then when I'm mentioning or pitching Seattle, a small light bulb goes off because they don't realize all the fruit that's here. And they don't realize that the top 6 or 8 people on the Forbes billionaire list live in our city. They don't live anywhere else. And so when they realize that, they're like, oh, well, what have we been missing?
What's going on there?
What's going on? So I think there's, what I'm really optimistic about is the longer term projects, the waterfront expansion or redevelopment. The $1 billion convention center is almost done. And then I really think the Lit 5 project is going to add some serious juice to the city. And so those 3 projects alone, I think, are going to keep people really engaged and excited to move here. And I think our population growth is going to continue. But basic, we got an amazing culture of young entrepreneurs, young business people, particularly young people of color, young Black and brown folks who are hungry, thirsty, here learning technical tech skills, building apps, building crazy things. And we got to give those people an opportunity to shine. Because once you give those folks an opportunity to shine, then you're just creating more jobs and a better outlook on what the city can create, right? Because yeah, it could be a great city. I love, like, the food's here incredible. People here incredible, sometimes passive aggressive, actually all the time passive aggressive. But you look at what a city produces, right? Like a university, and there's incredible talent here. And I hope that Seattle steps up and continues to nurture that talent. So that's what I'm excited about, a lot of the local talent that we're around. And we want to see that grow. And then, on the other side of it, we got to make sure that we're not as passive aggressive. I think people should be honest about how they feel about things, whether you like the person or not. You should tell the person, and because all it's going to do is just create a not positive, work environment or energy or opportunity. And I think if folks in Seattle can be okay and not be emotional when something doesn't go their way, or just agree to disagree and shake hands, I think the city will be able to, like, bend a corner. You're
saying death to Seattle nice, huh?
Yeah, I mean, like, where does Seattle nice get people?
Yeah.
Where does it get us? It gets people more upset. So and they hold grudges. And we're in circles. We're in enough circles, high level, mid level, low level, where, well, I'm at low level circles sometimes because I be in these streets. But, like, people they'd rather just hit them with the honest truth. If you went out for a job and you didn't get it, you don't need to be nice about it. Tell them why they didn't get it, so that way they can grow and be a better applicant next time. And so that's more why I say that, is because I think honesty can help us grow, me included.
So as a builder, a creator, why does it take so long to build stuff in this city, especially housing? And you've acquired, I think, in the last year or so, $8 million or so of properties. You've got, this a fairly big portfolio of stuff that you're down the pike here of multifamily and other projects. Why does it take so long to get stuff done? If you could wave a magic wand to speed up the production of housing, what needs to be done?
Yeah, let me see. Where's my magic wand? Oh, there it is. I think we have to really assess how we go through design review. I think there's a lot of time that is absorbed there unnecessarily. And I think that needs to be assessed. And so, I think certain projects shouldn't have to go through a public design review process. And I think certain projects should. So I think there's just needs to be a whole rewiring of how we think about, delivering projects and housing. So everyone's screaming our housing supply is low and we don't have enough housing, but yet we have this super bureaucratic system that is preventing these housing units to hit the market, when we need them. And so for example, if there's an affordable housing project that is maybe 100% affordable, that is 30% AMI, they should be fast-tracked. Completely fast-tracked. So I think there's some efficiencies that can be created there. And then I also think there should be efficiencies created, in the Office of Housing in itself, and how they distribute their funding and how long it takes for them to distribute and who they distribute to.
For low-income projects.
For affordable projects,
yeah.
Yep. And so, if we have such a housing crisis, then expedite the affordable housing units. Right. Don't make them go stand in the same line. I have global entry, and then there's regular customs. I don't want to wait in regular line. So we should have a global entry line for affordable housing projects. Let people in and let them go. So that would be, my thoughts.
Are you optimistic for any change there? These are issues that have been talked about for some time, right? Of how do we speed all that up? And are we at a moment where some of that can happen, you think? Yeah,
I don't know. We talk about it all the time, but, I haven't heard any real people actively trying to seek solutions for it, And I think as a city, we're great at, like, identifying the problem. We're amazing. We're smart individuals. We know the issue.
Talk it to death.
We will talk it to death. But when it comes time to actually being courageous and taking that unpopular opinion and executing, then everything stops. Everything stops. And I think we need more leaders, more elected leaders, more business leaders who aren't afraid to deal with a little bit of the negativity. At the expense of we're trying to create more housing. So what are we really scared of? So yeah, I hope there's some changes. I mean, I'd love to be a part of the solution. But we can't change a whole city. So we stay focused on our company, on Gardner Global, and making sure that we try to be an example of how we can deliver these units, create an opportunity for Black wealth, and contribute to a vibrant job economy.
What are you most excited about with the new project that you announced back in June at the Calvary Church site in the CD?
Yeah, that's what I'm excited about is what I'm really excited about is our partners. I'm excited that we have a strong partnership with a long-standing Seattle family office who's been here, who's one of the original families of Seattle. And to be able to be in partnership with a group like that, we're learning tons. And you can't buy that type of experience, right? And so to be able to be, in partnership with a group who understands real estate at a level that we're learning at and we're hoping to get there, it's incredible. So, I have to definitely shout out our partners, shout out Heartland, Laird Norton, for believing that there's an opportunity, but also understanding that hey, they are literally contributing to helping solve the wealth gap problem by investing and working with Gardner Global, right? Because we're going to take what they have taught us and we're going to make sure we implement that. And so I'm really excited about that. I'm excited about people who are willing to, put their money where their mouth is, so to speak. And then, secondly, I love the fact that we're going to create a building that's going to be my vision is going to be an incredible building that's going to speak to not only the history of the Black church, because Mount Calvary's been there for quite some time, 30 plus years. So how do you build and design a building that speaks to the history of the Black church, Mount Calvary, but also people don't know the building I'm naming it the Sarah Queen Apartments, named after my grandmother who passed tragically 30 plus years ago. But she was an entrepreneur, community activist, very vocal, a pioneer in Spokane. How do you build a building designed around supporting Black women business? How do you show that? How do you show Black women entrepreneurship and then the history of the Black church in a building? I don't know, but I'm so excited to find out. And so I'm hoping it'll be one of those really unique projects where people come to Seattle and they go, that building is awesome, because it speaks to these things in a very subtle way. And so, yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited for the design aspect of it and the ability to work with some incredible partners in Seattle. So
yeah, that's terrific. And are there things that give you worry, keep you up at night as we, are in these, pretty unsettled economic times, lots of not a lot of clarity of what the next 6 months or a year look like? Or do you sort of look past that turbulence and feel bullish about multifamily and the city and kind of where we're headed? But are there things that keep you up at night?
Oh man, there's plenty of things
about this project.
Plenty of things that keep me up. I mean, as a business owner, as a CEO, I don't think it's a part of our job to get much sleep, just because of all the things we take on. But to answer your question, I'm 39. So for you guys don't know out there, I'm 39. I know I look 22, but I'm really 39. The grays in my beard show it. I'll be 40 this year, and I feel like I've been through 7 recessions already. Mm-hmm. What? I'm 40 years old, and I've experienced 7 recessions. There's never a good time to raise capital. There's never a good time to go get a construction loan. There's never a good time to start a business. There's never a good time to... So it's just so I just supposed to stand here and just not pursue my dreams because of uncertainty in our economic times? I feel like it's always uncertain. We just got out of 2 years of uncertainty.
Right.
And so, the fact that, the feds are raising rates, yeah, of course it's going to make an impact. Gas is going up, inflation's yes, those things are a part of it's a part of basically of our culture now. And so I'm just a fan of like, I've just never let that stop us. We have to be smart with our decisions and make sure we mitigate risk and make sure that, you know, we look out for the best fiduciary interests of our investors for sure. But that doesn't mean we halt the train. If anything, that means we even go more bullish. Like you said, we go hard on the paint, so to speak, because where chaos exists is where we found opportunity. And so if everyone's going to run out of the house, I'm running in and I'm finding all the goods. You know, people leave things behind. So, you know, and it's a part of just how I grew up. You know, it's a hustler mentality. I grew up in very modest and difficult circumstances. And I feel like these 6 months as a business owner, we need to be smart, need to be diligent, but in no way are we going to let it stop our motion. Especially when you're talking about investing in real estate in Seattle. This is a strong market. It's going to be okay. You know, we short-term pain for long-term gain. You know, and that's how we look at it. So,
and it seems like the multifamily sector is one that's recovered relatively strongly coming out of this pandemic, and we still just lack enough housing certainly across the city, but really across the country. So we're underhoused and need more housing. And
need more housing.
True in a recession and true when times are really good.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah, exactly. So whether we're in a recession or not, we still need more housing.
Yeah.
And we still need banks to close on construction loans. And if that tightens up, then it's only going to push out the housing crisis even further. You know, so you know, I definitely think again, you know, we need to be smart and need to be aware that of the challenges, but we shouldn't let that scare us into silence or scare us into a position of instability.
So as you look back on the pandemic and leading your company and also putting a book out early on in the pandemic, how has your leadership style had to adjust? Have you had to lean into a leadership trait or quality more so, or develop one that you didn't have to sort of lead your company through this turbulent time?
Yeah, that's a super interesting question. You know, I think I'm still learning, right? I think I'm still growing into my executive shoes of being a young CEO and finding out what that means. You know, I always look at my title as a CEO as, you know, like the letters are empty and I have to fill them, right? So I'm still working on the C part. I'm still working on the chief. And what does that mean? You know, and so, you know, I just trying to be as optimistic and creative as possible, I think has helped, because when the pandemic hit, you know, I built out a property management division over several years. And if I didn't have the property management division, which is monthly recurring revenue, I don't have to chase down clients for that. If I didn't have that, man, it almost would have been lights out. So I was able to build a system where at least I can keep the lights on, you know, to kind of ride out, you know, really difficult times. And then what that's taught me is like build more systems of stability where we can when it comes to business. And so, you know, gumball machine, it's funny, but, you know, what I've been able to pull into the gumballs kept the lights on as well.
You're diversified.
Diversifying. And so it's like, let me go through these quarters. How many quarters do I got to pay rent this month? You know, I could get by a couple months of rent, you know? And so I think, you know, as far as leadership, to your question of like leadership styles is really trying to push myself to be creative, to be solution oriented. And I think if you're able to do that, you build confidence. You build confidence in your team. They see you. They see you not just working, but trying to problem solve in a creative way that may be different than just a traditional way of doing business. And I could have done things that have been traditional, but I don't think that would have worked. We're not in traditional times, so I feel like that doesn't call for traditional measures. Mm-hmm. And so I think that's maybe one thing that comes to mind. But always trying to get better. Always trying to get better.
You mentioned optimism too, and I wholeheartedly agree on the importance of that trait. And every great leader, I think, has got to have a healthy dose of optimism.
You got to.
Yeah.
You got to. Yeah.
Especially in those challenging times. How much gum do you get tracked into this office coming out of Post Alley?
That's hilarious. None.
None.
I mean, maybe once or twice. If there's a couple gum spots, it's all on the walls. People, it's the funniest thing. People when they spend their 25 cents on gum, they want to put it on the wall. They don't want to waste it. It's not going on the ground.
They got to get that shot.
They got to get it. They got to get that epic gum wall shot.
We're sitting across the street from the Selfie Museum, which opened a few. Have you been in there? I've yet to go in there, but have you been in there?
I have not been in there, and you know what? I got to shout them out. Man, what a great business idea. Because I'm getting 25 cents a patron, but they're getting like $30 a patron. And they don't, it's as passive as you can get. They don't do anything. People just walk in and take pictures. Oh.
They're not having staffing crises.
Oh my gosh.
Over at the Selfie Museum. Yeah.
Yeah. So but also I love it because it adds to the vibrancy of the city and to the alley. So
it's so Seattle.
It's super Seattle. So when people come to the gum wall, they have something to do by buying a piece of gum, and they have something to do by hanging out in the museum. So I just like the fact that it's activated. Before we were here 6-7 years ago, there was these spaces were empty. And there was a lot of transient activity going on. And so when we came in and activated, the condo owners who live in this building here and the condo owners there and apartment folks here were like, thank you for just being present.
More eyes and feet on the streets.
Yep.
It's a good thing for the
neighborhood. Exactly.
So we conclude each episode by asking, what's your perfect Saturday in Seattle? So, Jaebadiah Gardner, what's your perfect Saturday in Seattle?
Perfect Saturday in Seattle?
Take us through it.
Oh, man. Perfect Saturday in Seattle. It's definitely, brunch is a part of the equation.
Yeah.
So I'm probably hitting Baco for their salmon hash with a side of crab, with a biscuit with jelly. And then after the salmon hash, I'm walking through the market, getting good vibes, maybe, definitely sampling some fruit. And then I'm walking down to the pier and I'm hitting the water taxi. And I'm watering taxi to West Seattle because the view is incredible. Nice day. It's just unbeatable. And it's $2.75 trip. $5 both ways, so it's a cheap win. Getting across the water and having happy hour at Salty's, and then enjoying the view, getting some good happy hour in, hopping the water taxi back, and then if there's still a little bit of sun out, I'm going up to the Oyster Bar, Speakeasy in Smith Tower. I'm having a cocktail up top, and I'm hanging out, enjoying the view, and then calling it a day. So that'd be my perfect day in Seattle.
I love it. Sounds good.
Food and drinks and views.
Yeah, we do well in each of those areas.
Right?
We excel.
Exactly.
Well, thanks for your time, Jaebadiah. I appreciate you coming on the show and for
Thank you.
The investments you're making in the city and the great things that you're making happen. So congratulations on your success and how you've come through a pretty difficult time for lots of folks in our community. So
appreciate it.
To you.
Appreciate it. Thank you guys for having me. Look forward to putting in that work. So stay tuned.
Right on.
Well, hope you enjoyed my conversation with Jaebadiah Gardner, a leader and developer in our community that I've got a ton of respect for his courage and perseverance in what he's doing and his commitment to the city and his optimism for the city of Seattle. It's going to be fun to watch Jaebadiah's projects take shape over the next couple of years, and hats off to him for what he's doing. You can learn more about Jaebadiah at jaebadiah.com, his website, and learn a bit more about his book, Believe in Yourself, there as well. Believe in Yourself, Business Essentials for the Millennial Entrepreneur. So you can pick that up, I'm sure, wherever you pick up your books these days. So thanks to Jaebadiah for joining me, and hope you enjoyed the conversation. As I do each and every episode, I want to close out with a recommendation of something you just can't miss in downtown Seattle. And what you can't miss is what's going to be a art-filled weekend this coming weekend, July 21st through the 24th, in the Pioneer Square neighborhood of downtown. A lot going on in Pioneer Square this weekend when it comes to arts and culture. First off is the Seattle Art Fair, which will be at Lumen Field on Thursday through Sunday. Now in its 7th year, was founded by Paul Allen and has continued over at Lumen Field. So you can go to seattleartfair.com for tickets. And then just down the street at the Railspur Project, which is the old FX McCrory's there on Occidental, which has been redeveloped by Urban Villages, a company out of Denver They've acquired 3/4 of that full block and developed an incredible new building that, for the weekend at least, will be home to the Forest for the Trees Art Festival, which is free and running along the same 4 days there. They will fill up the 70,000 square feet of the Rail Spur project with art activation and immersive installations and other exhibits, and also have some live music and other things going on. And you can find them on Eventbrite, Forest for the Trees. Again, it's a free event running Friday through Sunday at the Rail Spur project over off Occidental in Pioneer Square. And the Mariners are going to be playing Friday night and in town over the weekend. So it's going to be a great time to be down in Pioneer Square and visiting those festivals and a game perhaps, and the great restaurants and other galleries and retail shops down there. So check out Forest for the Trees and the Seattle Art Fair and Festival this coming weekend, July 21st in Pioneer Square. Well, thanks for joining us for this episode of Seattle City Makers, presented by the Downtown Seattle Association, with support from James Cito and production by Spark Creative.